In the cold, desolate expanse of an alien planet, a powerful warrior chief named Kira stood at the front of her clan. The sun had dipped low, casting a red glow over the cliffs that framed their stronghold. Today was the day of reckoning. Her clan, loyal and fierce, was prepared for battle against a rival faction that threatened their survival. But there was something unsettling in the air. The warriors, normally brimming with confidence and fire, seemed uneasy. Their eyes flickered nervously as Kira prepared to lead them into combat. A strange figure emerged from the shadows, a human, unarmed, and oddly calm. His presence alone seemed to disrupt the atmosphere. Kira's heart raced. Why was he here? This wasn't the time for diplomacy. Her warriors braced themselves, but Kira, standing at the front, couldn't shake the eerie feeling creeping down her spine. The human approached slowly, his eyes meeting Kira's with a quiet intensity. Without a word, he reached up and patted her head. The gesture was so simple, so unexpected, that for a moment, Kira could only stare at him. But as his hand made contact, the ground beneath her seemed to shift. The reaction from her clan was immediate and chilling. All at once, they froze. Their weapons, once held high and ready for battle, fell to the ground with a metallic clatter. The sound echoed through the silence like a death knell. The warriors who had once sworn their lives to Kira now looked at her with cold, unseeing eyes. It was as if the very act of that single touch had erased her power in an instant. Kira stood frozen, her mind racing. Her heart pounded in her chest as she looked around at the faces of her people, those who had once followed her into countless battles, who had trusted her, respected her. Now, they didn't even acknowledge her presence. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. What had happened? Why did this man's simple touch carry so much weight? The human stepped back, his eyes narrowing as he watched Kira, waiting. His voice, when it came, was soft, but filled with an authority that seemed to cut through the tension in the air. "You were never their leader," he said, his words hanging in the silence like an accusation. "They followed you because they thought you were something you're not. You were their strength, but in truth, you've always been just as weak as they are." The words hit Kira like a slap. The ground seemed to tilt beneath her, her sense of reality shattering. She had always prided herself on being the strongest, the one who could lead her clan through anything. But now, the doubts crept in. Was it true? Had she been nothing more than a facade? Her strength, her courage, were they just illusions? Her second-in-command, Tarek, stepped forward, his expression one of disbelief and fury. "What have you done to her?" he demanded, his voice trembling. But the human didn't answer. Instead, he merely raised a small device, a glowing orb that hummed with strange energy. With a flick of his wrist, the orb expanded into a hologram, revealing images of Kira's past, her victories, her triumphs, the battles she had won. But the hologram was distorted, showing something disturbing: her manipulation of the clan's emotions. Fear, control, lies. Kira's breath caught in her throat. The truth was undeniable. Her leadership had never been based on respect or honor. It had been built on fear. She had controlled her people, twisted their feelings, made them follow her through sheer force of will. But now, in front of her very eyes, that control was slipping away. The clan she had ruled was slipping away from her. Tarek's voice wavered as he spoke again. "You will never be our chief again, Kira." The words were final, cutting through her like a knife. They were no longer her people. She was no longer their leader. Her world, once so secure, was crumbling around her. Kira felt the weight of the truth press down on her. She had built her entire identity on the foundation of strength, but in reality, it had always been a house of cards, waiting to collapse. Her people, her clan, they had seen through the illusion, and now they had turned their backs on her. The human watched her, his gaze unwavering. "You had the power," he said quietly, "but you lost it the moment you stopped trusting them. You never let them be free, and now they've seen the truth." The words echoed in Kira's mind. She had tried to control everything, every aspect of her clan's existence. She had held on so tightly to her power that she had forgotten what it meant to lead with trust, with respect. The realization came crashing down like a wave. Her clan had not followed her because they believed in her. They had followed her because they feared her, and that fear had just been broken. Her fists clenched at her sides, but her anger began to fade, replaced by a deep, unsettling fear. She was lost. The people she had fought for, the warriors who had stood by her side, had abandoned her. They had seen through the walls she had built around herself, and now there was nothing left. The human, sensing her turmoil, stepped closer. "You don't have to be what they expect you to be," he said, his voice softer now. "You can be someone new. Someone who leads not through fear, but through respect. It's not too late." Kira looked at him, her vision blurry with unshed tears. She wanted to shout at him, to reject his pity, but deep down, she knew he was right. She had been so afraid of losing her power, of losing control, that she had never stopped to think about what kind of leader she wanted to be. But now, standing in the ruins of her own world, she realized that the cost of her leadership had been too high. She had lost herself in the process. With a deep breath, Kira looked at her clan, at the faces that had once looked to her for guidance. She was no longer their chief. The power she had fought so hard to maintain was gone, but in its place, something new was beginning to grow within her. A spark of freedom. A chance to rebuild herself, to become something more than she had ever been before. The human reached out his hand, offering her a chance at redemption. Kira hesitated for a moment, then took it. As they walked away from the battlefield together, Kira felt the weight of her past lifting off her shoulders. She had lost everything, but in doing so, she had found the strength to start over. The world had changed, and so had she. There was no going back, but perhaps, just perhaps, there was something better waiting ahead.